You can't surrender in this program. It's impossible to surrender in this program without understanding what you're surrendering. Like, you don't know what you're surrendering. So when Bill Wilson gets to the end of the road where he has his last encounter with Dr. Silkworth, okay? The second to last encounter with Dr. Silkworth, and he goes home and he slips again. So that means he's drinking full time again. There's no slips for Bill at this point. He's going to drink himself to death. They go to the doctor. The doctor says the following. He says, your husband will either go to an asylum or the funeral parlor within a year. Right? We call that pronouncing someone after many rehabs and hopeless. That's pronouncing someone incurable, medically incurable. Okay? So if you're medically incurable, that's part of the discovery, okay, of being a type 3. Okay? So incurable. Incurable means hopeless. For you to be restored to some type of sanity, to get better health-wise through your own will and through the doctor's advice. It won't work for you. The doctor's advice, and he says very clearly that doctors work with synthetic knowledge, right? And so it won't work for you. But there's this dream that alcoholics and drug addicts have, that this is a mechanistic problem, just like any other illness. Okay, so if you have pancreatic cancer, they treat the pancreatic cancer mechanistically. Do you know what I mean by mechanistically?
Like you can measure it, like.
Correct. Like changing your carburetor. There's a really, really close equivocation between a mechanic and a surgeon. Like, it's very close in nature. They're trying. Science is a mechanistic process. Okay, the heart works like this. There's a valve here, and you change the valve, and the person will live. The valve's blocked. Your carburetor's blocked. I don't know if there's carburetors anymore, but I'm just giving you an example. Okay, that's a mechanistic view of science. Okay. But that doesn't work for alcoholics. It works for people who are not alcoholic, who may have a bit of problems with alcohol or something to that effect, but it won't work for us. The mechanistic view of alcoholism will not help us. If you're hopeless, incurable, chronic, fatal, progressive, if you're one of us is a type 3, so you're fucked. There's nothing you can do about it on your own will. You have to have a spiritual experience. But you really have to know what that means. Like, you really need to know what it means to be stymied, cornered, with no room to move. Now, what's also very important to know is how important alcohol and drugs is to you and has become over the years. It's got to be super. Just think of it. It's got to be super important to you in terms of priorities, especially if someone says to you, listen, you're going to die. It's inevitable. You will die. Let me just say that again. You will die if you use again and you use again and again and again. And then you go back and to the detox or wherever, and they say to you, Jesus Christ, Steve, give it a break. Your esophagus is bleeding from the alcohol burning you. Your liver is going to, turn into, some type of alien affliction. The whole side of your stomach is sticking out. You're going to die, Steve. Alert. I'm laughing because it's the stupidest shit ever. And I go, drink? What? Steve, you are going to die. Thanks for the information, Doc. I'm never going to drink again, and I'm drunk within 2 days. 48 hours, I'm drunk, or I'm on the pipe, or whatever it is. Doesn't make any sense to mangle yourself. So obviously, the alcohol and the drugs did for you something close to what the union with God can do for you. Do you understand? Carl Jung makes it very clear that at a very low level, alcoholism is an attempt to have some type of union with the power greater than yourself, with some type of God. He makes it very clear. You're not getting drunk and open and loving and kind. Yeah, you know how it is. Or being the opposite, smashing someone in the head. All the things you want to do in your life can be done with alcohol. Just look at somebody when they relapse. It's always the same story. Steve, I really love you. You're one of the greatest sponsors I ever had. Or, you're a fucking asshole, I'm going to kill you. But it's like this freedom. The alcohol gives you that freedom to just do, without conscience, anything. Same with the cracks. Look at the sexual shit people tell me in their 4 steps. We're all the same. We're all exactly the same. When you smoke crack, something weird happens sexually. It could be even on the side of not being able to perform and thinking you can perform. But shit happens that's irregular. So you want to be Giacomo Casanova, a real playboy, and you just throw some coke into your system, and at least mentally now you think that you can have union with a woman because you're a hot knife through butter. You're a woman's pet and a man's regret. The drugs and alcohol for us did something that it doesn't do for other people for some reason. But it really worked for us. It really did shit for us that wasn't expected, and we got addicted. Okay? Fuck the genetics. They don't know what they're talking about, these doctors. Oh, it's genetic. How can it be genetic? Anyway, the point is that if you don't add alcohol, how are you going to find out if it's genetic? You got to drink in order to find out if it's genetic. Well, he's an alcoholic, it's genetic. Well, yeah, he drank 450 gallons of vodka. Of course it's genetic now. Nice move, nice work, doc. Anyway, the point I want to make in all this is that you have to swallow 3 shocks, the 3 absolutes. They're absolute truths that you have to get into your system that I've spoken about before, but not as great lengths. So a lot of people think I just came up with these things. I didn't come up with these things. There's not much that I don't get out of the big book, right? But it's the most purchased and least bought book ever in the history of mankind, because everyone gets a free copy in rehab of the big book, maybe the NA basic text, but it's not read. A lot of people have been around 20 years and they're sober. They greet, they set up chairs. They haven't recovered yet. They don't know what they're missing because they don't even know what the program's about, honestly. But if you want to recover, if you happen to be a chronic relapser, which you have to be at the last stop, everyone here's been in rehab a couple of times, whatever it is. If you want to experience recovery rather than just sobriety, which is what you're going to need anyway because you're a chronic relapser, so-called chronic relapser, you need to recover. Counting days is not going to work for you. It's not. Impossible. I'm 4,000 days sober. It's been so fun. Sounds like he's holding in a bowel movement, right? It's like, so great. I'm so happy to be sober one day at a time for over 10 years. It's so great. I love being the librarian of the group. Wow. You understand? You can't. Recovery is where you have to get to. You don't want to be stuck in sobriety. Sobriety is a nightmare. Because all you're doing is managing your emotions all day and all kinds of shit on your own. You don't have any real connection. So how do you get there? How do you get to a place where you can recover rather than just be sober? This is the enigma. This is what I learned, okay? So I will tell you how I discovered this whole thing I pitch about unmanageability. Okay. I was 57 or 58 years old, coming back from a 3-year extravaganza, of which the last 6 months were horrible. Okay? They were very difficult because that's when I lost everything in the last 6 months, which is what I always do when I have these big, stupid extravaganzas. Anyway, I don't want to stick on that, but I was always miserable sober. Like, I mean, I had 5 years, three 5-year medallions. Prior to that, one time I got to 8 years, one time I got to 6 years. I've had 18 months, 1 year. But I always seem to slip. And the reason why I seem to slip is I'm going to tell you why right now. Because I always thought that Alcoholics Anonymous was a place to deal with my alcohol and drug addiction. And I thought if I remove the alcohol and drugs from my system, and I do what my sponsor says, I go to the meetings, I set chairs up, I do things, not that I don't like doing that stuff, but I mean, I'm telling you, this is how I got, and I wanted to hang around with the right group, the ones who had the recovery, and I wanted to go golfing with them, and you know, it came to be a social place for me. It came to be everything for me, except that I didn't know what the program was about really at its core. I did not know. So I thought, so long as I'm not drinking and drugging, I've made it. I'm happy. But I wasn't happy. Most of the time I was quite anxious. Most of the time I was always in this kind of confused state. What should be my next step? How do I deal with this? And then I'd run to a meeting for relief. You know what I mean? I get to the meeting and it's like, oh, I made it. Oh my God. I couldn't have any relief all day. I was working for a living, whatever it is. But everything was anxiety ridden. I didn't even know it was anxiety ridden. And I tried therapy and I went to Gestalt. And I smashed bags and I did this and I did that. I couldn't seem to get any real momentum with regards to the program because the program had been lost a little bit. Even in AA, they lost the essence of the program. It had been invaded by the therapists, and so we were all told that if we're whacked out of our tree and still miserable, it wasn't because we were overlooking things in the program. It was because we had other issues. And those issues, because I was brought up when issues became invented with the identity politics. So when issues started and people started working on these issues became this topic where I have something that's special to me, called my issues, called my truth, that I need to unpack on my own with a therapist to find out what my story really is in isolation. Because that's what that is. You have an issue because you're straight. I have an issue because I'm divorced. Somebody has an issue because they're gay. It separates us. Everyone has a different issue. So now I take my issue, my trauma, so to speak, and I go to the issue person. And I tried everything. Gestalt, primal scream, psychoanalysis, burglarian therapy, I did it all. In the 90s, I did every form of therapy you could think of. Now they use little acronyms. It's called ADT, LMNOP, QRS, T. It's all horseshit in my opinion. Cognitive behavioral. When did an alcoholic ever want to behave? When did an alcoholic ever want to learn, or an addict ever want to learn how to behave? When did that ever happen?
Okay.
What?
Never.
Right. Are you getting impatient with me? If you
I
need,
just want to hear the story.
I know you can go. You can actually. Yeah, okay. So all I'm saying to you is what happened was on this relapse was I went to ART, this rehab center, and when I was at ART, I was having a very, very hard time. I was like really, really, really mangled this time, and I had a lot of consequences. Okay. But the garden variety consequences of every alcoholic from having the experience of hitting a bottom. I had to go to court, okay, because I had been arrested a couple of times. My marriage had broken up, so I had to deal with that. get back to family responsibility office. I owed guys that are on the streets all kinds of money. I had the garden variety, what everybody has a problem with. Okay, lose your family, lose your legal status, lose everything. Okay, so it's all part of the deal. So I had all these problems, and I was like completely overwhelmed as to how, after trying since 1988, and this was like 2017, how was I going to recreate my life again? How was I ever see my son again? How could I make a deal with my ex-wife? All these things put me into a black hole of despair, to the point where I experience, with every addict experiences at some time in their bottoms, suicidal ideation. I've never met an addict who's a type 3 who's hit a rock bottom that didn't feel suicidal at some point. So I was feeling suicidal, reconnected with my old sponsor, had already a good knowledge of the big book, really good knowledge of it. And in speaking to my sponsor, he said to me, well, you're going to have to pray for help. And I just went, well, what do you mean? Well, it's never, what am I doing back here again? I prayed my ass off my whole recovery, and I'm back here in a rehab. So just make it short. Just say, God, please help me, over and over again. I said, as a joke, I said, how many times, like I was being sarcastic because I was pissed, how many times do you want me to say this prayer? His response was, the first 1,000 times are going to be the hardest. So I wasn't that optimistic about it, to be honest with you, right? Couldn't see Anna, couldn't see Dylan, couldn't see anybody. Nobody wanted to talk to me. I was finished. So I started very slowly. God, please help me. God, please help me. Over and over, because I was having a lot of times interacting with people. I wanted to start fights all day. I wanted really to create some havoc, but I couldn't. So I was swallowing it because I didn't have a place to go. And it was just a disaster until finally, next day I kept praying and I was a little more enthusiastic. Okay, so what I'm going to tell you of what I discovered now is actually ass backwards. I'm going to sell it to you forwards. But then 3 or 4, 5 days later, I'm walking in the hallway of the rehab center and I'm saying to people, good morning, and I mean it. And when the cook gives me my plate of food, I go, thank you very much, you're a great cook. And then I sit down and I eat with everybody, and I'm very polite and I'm approachable, right? Because we're like feral cats. When you find a cat on the street and you go, here, have a little bit of tuna. That's what I was like, right? A feral human being. And all of a sudden I'm being polite and kind to people. I don't really recognize it or realize that anything's happened because it's subtle, right? At the end of the day, I go, that was a pretty good day. The next day, I keep praying. I don't make the association yet, right?
Yeah.
But the next day, I do have the same type of day, good day, because I'm praying quite sincerely. God, please help me. God, please help me. That's the only prayer I'm doing. Call up Jim and I say, Jim, everything's gone. He goes, what do you mean everything's gone? I said, everything I had, all the RSPs, everything's cleaned out. I got to sell my condos to pay off those guys, blah, blah, blah. Keep praying. Maybe this time you'll work the program the way it was written. That's what he says to me. Right? That feeling like, okay, I got to start. I don't know how I'm going to get out of this pit. But I keep calling him all the time, and I still do to this day. Every day I speak to him. So anyway, I keep talking to him. I know I'm making this story long, but it felt long. I'm telling you, and I'm praying, and the next day I have a good day. And then I realized I make the association between the differences, prayer, and I'm doing better. And don't even ask me if I believe in God at this point. I don't even care, right? I don't have the strength to hardly shower. All I know is my attitude has shifted. So what did I learn from that attitude shift that occurred through prayer and just listening, just taking the direction of my sponsor because I was so desperate, right? Desperate, pray. I prayed. 3 days, 4 days later, I'm feeling better and I'm able to interact with the world.
Your willingness, Steve?
Let me finish. Okay, just wait. Okay? The problem is not your consequences. Do you get that? Tony, stop fidgeting, man. You're driving me nuts. Your problem is not your consequences. You think it's your consequences. It's not your consequences. Do you know what I mean by that, Matt?
Yeah.
What?
Like, the problem's already there before the consequences.
No, the consequences. You have no money. You lost your job. Your wife won't talk to you. The dog died. Those are not your problems. You're not here to fix those. They'll fix over time. No phones, buddy.
You know, I was just canceling the call.
Cool? Those are not your problems.
Okay.
Your problem is not drinking. I wasn't drinking in the rehab. Your problem is not drinking and drugging. If you're not drinking and drugging, then how could drinking and drugging be your problem? It might be your diagnosis that you're an alcoholic, which we'll go over today, but it's not your problem. Your problem is the following: that our lives had become unmanageable. And your life can only become unmanageable. And I'm saying this with all sincerity, when you're clean and sober. When you're hammered, it doesn't make a rat's ass difference what you do. You don't care. You get it? Nobody who's drunk or high cares about what's going on. All they do is about staying drunk and high. As long as you can stay drunk and high, you're golden. Taking any moral conclusions out of that. I'm not going to moralize to you not to drink or drug. If you can get away with it, my hats are off to you. Go drink and drug. I don't care. But the point is if you can't drink and drug anymore successfully, if you've come to the end of your road, your problem's not drinking and drugging because you're sober. If you're sober, your problem is sober. Your problem's not drinking. Your problem is that the drinking doesn't work anymore. The drugging doesn't work anymore. For sure, it's a disappointment. Right? Oh, yeah, I really want to admit I'm powerless. Okay, admit my life's unmanageable. Believe that a power greater than myself can restore him insanity. Surrender to a power greater than myself by making a decision to turn my will and my life over to the care of God as we understand God. That's what I really want to do. Then after that, I want to launch into an examination of my life, put down all my defects of character, my resentments, my fears, my sex conduct, and my harms to others. I want to list all those things. Yay. And then I want to go and tell that to a fucking stranger from AA. Because a priest isn't going to believe me anyway. Psychiatrist's going to lock me up if I tell him my whole story. So then I got to find someone who AA that I know for 14 weeks, and I'm going to tell him, hey, you want to listen to my fifth step? And he's going to say, sure. He listens to it, and he gives me 4 or 5 character defects and says, guess what? This is part 2 now. Surrender your character defects. Yay. Okay? Become entirely willing to have God remove them. Don't work on them. Become entirely willing to have God remove them. And when you're finished with your character defects, which are unique to you, now you work on your human condition in the shortcomings, because shortcomings every human being has. Because everybody has the 7 deadly sins. Everyone has problems with lust or procrastination, whatever you want to call it, anger. Every human being. Character defects, unique to you. Shortcomings, the whole human race. And by the way, once you finish step 7, He'll tell you there's action and more action. Faith without works is dead. It's amend time. Now take your whole inventory that you wrote and turn all those resentments, fears, harms to others, and sex conduct, turn them all into amends. They're all amends. Nice. Now you got a list of amends. Step 9, go make them. Go make your amends. Start off with the money you owe. Do you really feel like paying your parents back the $125,000 you've spent on rehab so far? No, you don't. But if you went and made a living by working and taking them off the hook a little bit, you might ease the pain that you feel about being such a loser. So, it's a good time to get a lunchbox. Right? You want to make amends to your family? You can't pay them back the 400 G's they've spent on you so far? Get a lunchbox. Go to school. Do fucking something. Start changing your life. We'll call them living amends because you can't pay them back. Your mother doesn't even want the money back. Right? She just doesn't want to find you on the kitchen floor with your shirt off on a Tuesday afternoon, high on fentanyl. That's all she wishes for her whole life. Just do that for them. Do that for them. By the time we're making amends, if you really work the steps hard, you'll be okay. And then you can go to 10, 11, and 12 for the rest of your life. Okay? Because you're going to fuck up in sobriety. If you stay sober, you're going to discover, guess what? What do you think you're going to discover? The real you, which is not so wonderful all the time. So you're going to need step 10.
What's step 10 again?
Continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it.
Okay.
Fast. Has to be fast, because we're drinkers and druggers. So you got to have a fast program. You got to catch yourself before you completely melt down. You don't want to have relationship ruining moments. Because at 7, 8 months clean, sometimes that rage that comes up is psychotic. It's the vein in the forehead rage. And it's always misdirected. Every time. So get ready to make some amends in step 10. And then, of course, you've got to do the two-way prayer, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understand God, praying now for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. Beautiful. Beautiful two-way prayer. First you listen, then you pray. Pray, listen. See if you get an answer that makes sense. Keep trying it. And then when all is said and done, help others. What is helping others? Here. You take this book. You've got it mucked. If you've been at the last stop, somebody's mucked it with you. And muck the book. When you're finished, take someone through the book. 30 hours, okay? That's what it takes to take somebody through the book. Every person that you do keeps you away from relapsing. 30 hours a person, face to face, none of this horse shit, sending, I'm going to take a picture of page 17, read it and tell me what you think of it. No. One-on-one. The program, Bill, Bob. One-on-one. That's how the program works. One-on-one. Take 7 people through the book. You'll never drink and drug again in your life. 7 people. There you go. Right through from beginning to end. Okay? That's 210-hour investment.
Yeah.
That's all it is. A little bit of prayer, a little bit of meditation, go to work, make a living, find a girl or a guy, have a good time, live your life, take somebody through the book, surround yourself with a few AA friends, go to the softball every once in a while, make sure you have a home group and a sponsor, and you're golden. But remember this, all you're working through is your unmanageability, the second half of step 1. So let me just read to you what Dr. Silkworth says about powerlessness. Okay? He doesn't call it powerlessness. He says, all these and many others have but one symptom in common. They cannot start drinking without developing the phenomenon of craving. The phenomenon of craving. Once you pick up the first drink, you go into the well-known stages of a spree. Then you emerge remorseful, promising never to do it again. And then you do it again and again and again and again. Okay? This phenomena, as we've suggested, may be the manifestation of an allergy, which everybody's saying, oh, Dr. Silkworth didn't know what he was talking about, all these rehab doctors. So they're doling out Suboxone to people like crazy. Do you know that you can't go to CAMH with an opioid addiction and refuse Suboxone now? You have to take it. In other words, they're giving you opioids.
Right.
That's how sick this world has become. I want to get off opioids. Okay, here's an opioid. Good luck. Plus, if you're already into the opioids, you may as well tell the doctor you've got ADHD and they'll give you some Adderall too. And then it can feel like a speedball.
They did that at my treatment center.
Not interested. Not interested right now in what happened at your treatment center. Okay? Manifestation of an allergy, which differentiates these people and sets them apart as a distinct entity. Okay? All these and many others have one symptom. The symptom is the phenomenon of craving, which is powerlessness. Okay? So every time you pick up the first drink, you're going to get the phenomenon of craving. So the only relief we have to suggest is entire abstinence. But you can't stay abstinent. That means once you leave the hospital, the detox, the doctor can't help you. Sorry. Sorry. You'll be good for a couple of weeks anyway. But eventually you'll pick up. Sad. That's all they have. What's he going to tell you to do? What can a doctor tell you to do? What's the only thing he can tell you? Stay abstinent. Thanks, Doc. And you're sincere about it too. At the beginning, you go, thanks for detoxing me and, you know what I mean? Like, and helping me and, you know, it's like when they said to me with my heart, change your diet. I haven't changed my diet, right? It's not as easy. They just say it. I don't know what they say it for. But here's the problem with restless, irritable, and discontent. So when you're restless, irritable, and discontent, and your skin is crawling, sober, I'm talking about your mental state sober, it always comes to some point in time in your recovery that you're going to start unraveling. You always unravel. You're a human being, for Christ's sake. It's not happy, happy, joy, joy all the time. I mean, what are we, machines? And you're trying to reintegrate your life. If you go to page 52, says, we were having trouble with our personal relationships. We couldn't control our emotional natures. We were prey to misery and depression. We couldn't make a living. We had a feeling of uselessness. We were full of fear. We were unhappy. We couldn't seem to be of real help to other people. So we need a solution to these basic bedevilments, but those are the things that torment us. And they manifest themselves in us as restless, irritable, and discontent. And that morphs into a few feelings, mainly mad, sad, lonely, and afraid. So if you're walking around mad, sad, lonely, and afraid, and I remember when I first got sober, I was enraged at the injustice of this program. Like, How dare they, in rehab, talk to me like that? Like, what are they talking about? I'm the victim here. How dare they talk to me like that, that it's all, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this thing? It's horrific. The news from step one is so wretched because you're condemned to a death in step one. That's what it is. Everyone says, well, I made the admission, so at least now I'm aware. No, you're aware of the problem. There's only the problem in step one. The problem if you drink and the problem if you don't drink. And they both can drown you. Okay, so stopping you have to confront unmanageability. I wish Bill would have put that our lives had become unlivable, and then in brackets, sober. Our lives are unlivable, sober. For 1,000 reasons. But it's unlivable at the beginning. It's very difficult. There's depression, everything else that goes with it. So yes, restless, irritable, discontent. Okay, mad, sad, lonely, and afraid. We're going to use that as the umbrella. But then you start getting diagnosed as a manic depressive. You're 2 weeks off a 10-year coke run, and they tell you you're manic depressive. Really? Whatever it is, they just keep adding to the unmanageability and labeling you with all kinds of other shit. When the solution must be a higher power greater than you. Has to be. There's no way around it if you're a type 3. Impossible. You can dodge it. You can duck it. But the only way you can actually surrender to it is to know what your problem is. Once you know the depth of your problem and how cornered you are, it's so easy to pray. It's not hard at all. So you're powerless. We've discovered that that's the diagnosis, and unless you're drinking and drugging, it's not really the center of your problem. It's always there, the powerlessness lurking kind of as a threat. Don't do it, Issy. Don't do it. Hello? Is this Roy? Roy, can I get... No, I can't do it. Okay. Living like that, I can't drink, I have to drink, I can't drink, I have to drink. Remember, you make the call to the dealer when you're sober. You've run out of dope, so you're sober. I don't even care if it's for 20 minutes. You're stone cold sober at that minute. That's the problem. That's the problem. On page 268, she says, I was caught in a cycle of alcohol and sedation, which was proving inescapable. And then she says, to clinch it off, consciousness had become intolerable. And she's not talking about the consciousness of Eckhart Tolle and all these, self-help gurus. I'm not talking, we're talking about just opening your eyes in the morning. Morning. You remember that nice feeling? Oh, nice. I could have slept for 10 years. I would have rather slept for 10 years than wake up. Hey?
Yeah.
After that vicious 7 or 8 day run that was just so vicious. And then you wake up and consciousness had become intolerable. Just being awake is intolerable. Just being awake. What do I mean? That's unmanageability right there. Just being alive is intolerable. Yuck. What a gross feeling. I can only say yuck. Right? But that's what he means. Unmanageability, that our lives have become unlivable, only hits us when we're sober. As long as you've got a pile of dope on the table, you don't give a shit about anything. You really don't. As long as you've got a big whack of booze, this nice 60-pounder there to just suckle on like a poisonous breast, right? You're okay. But the minute that all disappears, It's Jaws music time.
Yeah.
But if you know that, like if you really say to me, you know what, Steve, I'm fully 100% with you on this, then and only then can you start to get better and do the program. Because you got to, that's why he writes, if you go to page 22, because the subtext, or the, I would say the, what do you call it? The subtitle to the big book ought to be how to avoid the first drink, right? Like we really don't want to pick up that first drink, right? It's the first drink that gets you drunk. It's the first smash that puts you on a run. It's the way it is. So first thing that Bill's going to do here is he's going to say to you, okay, this is by no means a comprehensive picture of the true alcoholic, as our behavior patterns vary. But this description should identify him roughly. Okay? You know, the progression of the illness. You start off with this, you end with that, blah, 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 blah. We all know it. Fatal, chronic, progressive. And we hear so much about the drugs, but we never hear, or we rarely hear about the dangers of the first drink once you're sober. That's way more important than anything else. The first drink is what gets you drunk. So here we go. Why does he behave like this? If hundreds of experiences have shown him that one drink means another debacle with all its attendant suffering and humiliation, why is it he takes that one drink? Why can't he stay on the water wagon? What has become of the common sense and willpower that he still sometimes displays with respect to other matters? Why? Why does he do it? Have you ever heard parents? I've had so many parents at this table crying. Literally, mothers crying. Why is he doing this? Right? Why? We don't know. Perhaps there will never be a full answer to these questions. Opinions vary considerably as to why the alcoholic reacts differently from normal people. We are not sure why. Once a certain point is reached, little can be done for him. We cannot answer the riddle. He's incurable and hopeless. You folks are incurable and hopeless. That's the winning ticket. That's why step 2 is introduced right away as a higher power. You, after step 1, you need the fucking pain relief. You need the pain relief. Step 1, if you really look at it, is doom. Step 2 is came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to health, restore us to sanity. Picking up the first drink is strangely insane. Especially with your history. With your history, why would you pick up the first drink? Why? Why? Why did you do it? You can't answer it. Nobody can answer it. The best psychiatrist can. Oh, he doesn't have good personal development. Oh, this, oh, that, whatever. He has trauma. He has this, he has that. If that was the case, then everybody with trauma would be alcoholics. Not true. If that was the case, people with development problems would all be drinkers. Not true. Why does he do it? We don't know. But we do know that he does it. This is far more important than knowing why, is that we specifically know that if you call yourself an alcoholic or a drug addict, the day will come that you will pick up a drink or a drug. You have to. You've lost the power of choice. Even if you're sober today, your addiction is growing because it's fatal, progressive, and chronic. Just like if you have bad back pain and you don't treat it, you're not going to your yoga, you're stretching, your chiro, you're this, the back pain gets worse. It grows. Even when it's not there, even when the pain isn't there as absence, you still have a bad back. It's the same thing with alcoholism. Alcoholism continues to grow. You're dying from it every day you're sober. You're still dying of alcoholism. If you see it that way, you get a daily reprieve from the hangman. That's why if you know you're dying every day from alcoholism and drug addiction because you've crossed the line into insanity and you can make the admission of hopelessness, that you're incurable, and that even when you're sober, you're dying of alcoholism, I mean, it's grim news, no? But if you can make that admission, you can pray. It's easy to pray. Right? If they got guns aimed at you, you pray. If you're in a trench in a war and the bombs are coming, you pray. They're coming. I'm telling you, they're coming if you don't have a spiritual experience. So you've got the diagnosis. You're powerless. That means you can't go near any poisonous substances that make you high, okay? That's it. You're done. Whether it's crack, alcohol, Valium, marijuana, whatever it is. All right, fine. Now I'm sober. I agree to that. Now I'm sober. Holy shit, what happened to my life? My life is now unlivable. I'm sober and I don't know how to live. Boom. Number 2. Shock number 2. And then shock number 3. Come on, Sasha. Here's your moment to shine, buddy. What do they call all that stuff? Mental. Nice and loud.
Mental twist.
What else?
The big Y.
The big Y, the mental blank spot, the insane urge. No effective mental defense against the first drink. The defense must come from a higher power. Okay? Do you know how much easier it is to go that route than to try to therapy yourself into this? Much easier. So that'll be next week. Today's Gratitude Friday. What do we do on Gratitude Friday, guys?
Give thanks.
We give thanks and we do a gratitude list. Okay, so let's get some paper. So I hope I convinced everybody that you're strangely mentally ill.